Good morning to one and all. Now in this class we are going to talk about security. In previous class we have studied about protection. Next in this class we are going to talk about the security concepts. In the security, what are the various types of attacks and what is the encryption and how we are going to provide the security through a network. All those things we are studied now. Here, first of all, security. First one is whereas in the security problem, we should know about the types of securities. Generally, security attack. What is meant by security attack? Security refers to the method of preventing the system from attacks, whereas protection is associated with internal problem. Even after employing a good protection mechanism, it means even though we are providing the very good protection mechanisms, hackers, or we can say intruders, or we can say unauthorized persons, or we can say illegal persons, may breach the protection mechanisms to access the restricted data. See, even though we have protected our system perfectly, sometimes hackers may try to access our data. There are several kinds of attacks like internal and external, and they may include virus, worm, and denial of service, theft of user identity and authentication information, etc. Okay. So whereas coming to types of attacks, generally there are two types of attacks are there. First one is passive attack, second one is active attack. Whereas in passive attack, what will happen is these are the nature of eavesdropping on or monitoring of transmission. Okay, that means in this passive attack, what will happen is it will only monitoring the data, whatever data going from sender to receiver. Okay, here there is no chance of modifications. The goal of the opponent is to obtain the information that is being transmitted. Okay, here in this passive attacks, what will happen is whenever there is a network, sender and receiver. See, for example, sender is sending the data to the receiver in a network. Here, if you take the passive attack, what will happen is there is a possibility of hacking. The hacker, what will happen is the hacker only view the data, whatever information, view the data, whatever going from sender to receiver. That means it can, hacker only view the data. He can't modify the data in this type of attack. Okay. So here that's why we can say that the goal of opponent, here opponent means hacker, is to obtain the information. That means he can only view, he can only saw the information, whatever that is transmitted. Here in this passive attacks are going to be divided into two types. That is, first one is release of message contents, and next one is trophic analysis. Okay, there are two types of passive attacks is there: release of message content and trophic analysis. In these two type of passive attacks only, the hacker only can monitor the data, whatever going from sender to receiver. Okay. Whereas coming to active attack, in this active attack involves some modifications of data stream or the creation of false stream and can subdivide it into four categories. Here what will happen is, if you take the active attack, here there is no modification. Here there is no monitoring. There is a chance of modification, or they will hacker whenever there is a sender and receiver, whenever information going from sender to receiver. In this active attack, what will happen is the hacker means in between sender and receiver, the hacker may view and modify. There may be a chance of modification of data. In passive attack, there is no modification. Here, in this active attack, what will happen? The hacker may modify the data, or the hacker will access the data, whatever information going from sender to receiver, and the hacker is also will create the false information and send it to the receiver. Okay, there may be a chance of view and monitor modification. Okay, in this active attack, there are four types. Active attacks are divided into four types. So that is first one is masquerade, and the second one is reply, and next one is modification of message, and the next one is DOS, that is denial of service. Okay, that is what is the major difference between active and passive is nothing but here in active the hacker may modify the data. In passive the hacker may not modify the data, he can only view the data. Okay, so this is the active and passive attack. Okay, so if you see the representations of active and passive, here first one is here passive attacks, here release of message content, here traffic analysis. See here what will happen in this release of message content. Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver. Here there is a communication. Actually sender is sending the data to the receiver, Alice. That means there is a communication between the Bob and Alice. In between we have Darth. Darth is nothing but intruder or a hacker or opponent, whatever it may, unknown person, whatever it may be. Here what the Darth will do, he will read the content of message from Alice, Bob to Alice. Just he will read whatever the content sent by the Bob to the Alice. Okay, why? Because it is passive. In this passive there is no change of data. That means the Darth means hacker. They won't change the data, just he will read the contents. Okay, this is nothing but release of message content. Whereas the next one is passive attacks. Next passive attack is traffic analysis. Here same, we have Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver, here Darth is the hacker. Here what will happen is the Darth observe the pattern of message from Bob to Alice. He will observe the pattern, in which pattern the sender will send the data to the receiver. Okay, here also there is no chance of modification. Okay, these two cases, these two are the passive attacks. Okay, here Darth what will happen, what will it will do is he will only view the data. Okay, he will monitor the data. Okay, in the first case it will read the data message. Second one is traffic analysis. You will observe the what type data, in which pattern it is going to be sent from sender to receiver. Okay, so these two are the passive attacks. So whereas coming to active attacks, active attack first one is masquerade and reply. See, this is the first diagram is regarding masquerade. Here what will happen is we have Bob and second one is receiver is Alice. In masquerade what will happen is actually the receiver will receive the data from the Bob, but what actually here what will happen is in masquerade Darth, the message from Darth and appear to from Bob. Here what will happen is what the Alice will feel, Alice will think that the whatever the information I got, that information is from Bob, that is sender. But from where it will get the information? Darth. Here what will happen? That Darth, that is the hacker, will access the information coming from the Bob. It will modify. That means it will create one more information. Okay, or it will view the information whatever received by the whatever sending by the Bob. Okay, here again it will send to the receiver, that is Bob. Okay, here the thing is here in between Bob and Alice we have Darth. Here what Darth will do? Actually Darth will receive the data from the Bob. He only will send the data to the Alice. What the Alice is feel that the data which I received is from Bob, but it should not be like that. It is from Darth. Okay, this is masquerade. Next one is reply. Here reply is nothing but here actually Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver. Here Darth what will happen is capture message from Bob to Alice, later reply message to Alice. That means here what the Darth will do is that Darth will receive the information from the Bob, whatever information Bob wants to send to the Alice, it will receive the information. Later, after some time, so the Darth will give that particular information to the Alice. Okay, here what will happening? He will modify or he will send the same type of data. Of course, okay. Here later, it will not send immediately. Later, it will give the Alice. Okay, so this is the reply. Okay. Next, coming to modification of message. Okay, modification of message. In this modification of message, Dorothy modifies message from Bob to Alice. Here what will happen is, it will receive the data from the Bob and it will modify the data and send it to the Alice. Okay, this modification of message. Okay. Next one is denial of service. In this denial of service, we have a server at the right side. Bob is the sender. Here, Dorothy disrupts the services provided by the server. Okay, what this Bob will do, Bob is accessing the services, or Bob wants to send the data to the some server, or Bob wants to communicate with the server. Here what the Dorothy will do, Dorothy means hacker will do is, Dorothy disrupt the services provided by the server. Okay, so these are the 4 types of attacks. Okay, that means in active we have 4 types: masquerade, reply, and a modification of message, and denial of service. Okay. Next, coming to, there are various violation issues. That is like, no, there are various security violations. When we talk about the security, there are some of the security violation issues. First one is confidentiality breach. See here, in this confidentiality breach, what will happen is, this type of violation involves unauthorized reading of data or theft of information. Typically, a breach of confidentiality is the goal of an intruder. Capturing secret data from system or a data stream such as credit card information. So it is nothing but confidentiality breach. Next one is integrity breach. So what is meant by integrity breach? So here integrity breach involves unauthorized modification of data. Whereas availability breach is nothing but it involves unauthorized restriction of data. Whereas next one is service threat attack. It involves unauthorized use of resource. If they have some resources, if those resources are used by some unauthorized persons, then we can say service threat attack. To protect the system, we must take security measures at 4 levels. Okay. Here, to protect the system, we must take the measures that are in 4 levels. First one is physical, and the second one is human, third one is operating system, and fourth one is network. Here, what is meant by physical? The site or sites containing the computer system must be physically secured against armed or suppression entry by intruder. Okay. Next one is human. Authorization must be done carefully to assure that only appropriate users have access to the system. Next one is operating system. The operating system must protect itself from accidental or purposeful security breaches. Next one is network. In this network, must computer data in modern systems travel over private leased line, shared line like the internet, wireless connection, or dial-up lines. Okay. Here the normal communication is, here we have sender and receiver. Here the second case, what will happen is there is a chance of masquerade. Here we have attacker, it will communicate with the receiver. In the third case also, it will show in the man in the middle attack. A man in the middle attack means the attacker in the middle, they will take the data, whatever going from sender to receiver. Okay. So next coming to next concept is program threats. Okay. See, generally when any program created by a user is used by another user, then misuse of then program may occur. Okay. Here the common way by which this behavior can be achieved is Trojan horse, trapdoor, logic bomb, stack and buffer overflow, and next one is virus. Whereas coming to Trojan horse, okay, here Trojan horse is nothing but these are the programs that sit ideally and transmit all the user information to the attacker. For example, there is a Trojan horse in our system. We are logging in our system, our account on any browser, and a Trojan horse attached to that browser whenever we are typing anything like username and password, this information are recorded by the Trojan horse, and this information is sent to the attacker. A code segment that misuses its environment is called as Trojan horse. Another variation on the Trojan horse is spyware. Spyware sometimes accompanies a program that the user has chosen to install. Most frequently, it comes along with freeware or shareware programs, but sometimes it is included with commercial software. The goal of spyware is to download ads to display on the user system, create pop-ups, browser windows when certain sites are visited, or capture information from the user system and return it to a central site. Okay. Whereas next coming to trapdoor. Trapdoor is nothing but if a program which is designed to work as required, have a security hole in its code and perform illegal actions without knowledge of the user, then it is called to have a trapdoor. Okay. Whereas coming to logic bomb, here the logic bomb is a situation when a program misbehaves only when certain conditions met, otherwise it works as a genuine program. It is harder to detect also. For example, consider a program that initiates a security incident only under certain circumstances. It would be hard to detect because under normal operations there would be no security hole. However, when a predefined set of parameters were made, the security hole would be created. This scenario is known as logic bomb. A programmer, for example, might write code to detect if she is still employed. If the check failed, a daemon could be swapped to allow remote access, or code would be launched to cause damage to the site. Okay. At the same time, the next one is stack and buffer overflow. See here, the stack or buffer overflow attack is the most common way for an attacker outside the system on a network or dial-up connection to gain unauthorized access to the target system. An unauthorized user of the system may also use this exploit for privilege escalation. Essentially, the attack exploits a bug in the program. The bug can be simple case of poor programming in which the programmer neglected to code bounds checking on an input field. In this case, the attacker can send more data than the program was expecting. So what is meant by virus? Here virus, there is another form of program that is nothing but virus. Virus are self-replicating and are designed to infect other programs. They can modify or destroy files and are causing system crashes and program malfunctions. A virus is a fragment of code embedded in a legitimate program. As with most penetration attack, viruses are very specific to architecture, operating system and applications. Even if a virus does infect such a program, its powers usually are limited because other aspects of the virus are system are protected. Viruses are usually bound via mail, with spam the most common vector. They can also spread when users download viral programs from internet file sharing service or exchange infected disk. Another common form of virus transmission uses Microsoft Office files such as Microsoft Word document. Once the virus reaches a target machine, a program known as virus dropper inserted into the system. The virus dropper is usually a Trojan horse execute for other reasons but installing the virus as its core activity. Once installed, the virus may do any one of the number of things. There are literally thousands of viruses, but they fall into several main categories. First one is file. A standard file virus infects a system by appending itself to a file. Next one is it changes the start of the program so that execution jumps to its code. After it executes, it returns control to the program so that its execution is not noticed. Okay. So next one is boot. We can say it is boot. A boot virus infects the boot sector of the program, executing every time the system is booted and before the operating system is loaded. Next one is we can say source code. A source code virus looks for source code and modifies it to include the virus and to help spread the virus. Next one is polymorphic. This virus changes each time it is installed to avoid detection by antivirus software. The changes do not affect the virus functionality but rather change the virus signature. Next one is encrypted. An encrypted virus includes decryption code along with the encrypted virus. Again, to avoid detection, the virus first decrypt then execute. Next, these are the different types of viruses. Next, coming to system and network threats. Okay, whereas the program threats typically use a breakdown in the protection mechanism of a system to attack programs. Here, the system and network threats create a situation in which operating system resources and user files are misused. There are two types of system and network threats are there. First one is worm and a denial of service. Worms are the small computer program that replicates, that is duplicates themselves. Worms contain malicious code that causes major damage to the operating system files. And also worms do not cause direct damage, instead consuming lot of system resources, thus denying service to the user. For example, there is an operating system, most of the resources are consumed by worm. There are a user U1 making request to the operating system, then the service is rejected by the operating system because the operating system resources itself consumed by the worm. A worm is a process that uses the spawn mechanism to ravage system performance. The worm spawns copies of itself using up system resources and perhaps locking out of all the other processes. On computer network, worms are particularly potent since they may reproduce themselves among systems and thus shut down an entire system. Okay, so this is regarding worm. Whereas we can say worm do not cause direct damage. Okay, instead it will consume lot of system resources, thus denying that particular service to the user. Okay. Next, coming to denial of service, that is we can say DOS. Okay, denial of service. Here, the denial of service is nothing but the denial of service attack normally prevents user to make a legitimate use of the system. For example, user may not be able to use internet if denial of service attack browser content settings. DOS attack are aimed not at gaining information or stealing resources, but rather at distributing legitimate use of a system or facility. Distributed DOS, we can say DDoS. Distributed DOS, these attacks are launched from multiple sites at once towards a common target, typically by zombies. Okay, so all these are the different types of system and network threats. Okay, thank you.